I'm Zita Harkaran, and today we're going to talk about ego, we're going to talk about your virtues, and I'm going to share a short mantra to help you rediscover your talents and your virtuousness, the goodness that is within you. Especially if you have been bogged down by the sound of your ego, by the negativity, by the literal blocks that happen in your mind. That voice actually starts from cultural beliefs, cultural consciousness, what can be identified as cultural myths that we tell each other. And these myths can be extremely harmful. So today I want to illuminate them and to help you kind of see how these narratives influence your life so that you can kind of take them out one by one or all at once. It's up to you. This is all inspired by the 11th pauri of Japji Sahib, which is to inspire virtuousness within you, to inspire your talents, to inspire your gifts, and help you see them and help you see yourself in the light of your divine self. The narrative of our cultural belief is that we are savage, cruel people who always argue with each other and who always fight with each other. This kind of belief is traveling with us throughout histories. When we study history, we study the cruelty, we study genocides, we study how one nation overcome the other, subliminated the other, how cultures were erased, how libraries were burned down, how people were killed. And so we get this subconscious belief that within ourselves there is something dark, that within ourselves there is something cruel that wants this. But maybe just in reality, these wars are being led by maybe 1% of the people, by maybe one of the darkest people. And the truth is that as they lead those wars, they become even darker, right? But that's another story. And another truth is that when we study history, when we look at our human history, we specifically have been looking at the biggest empires that conquered the other people. But there were people living in peace and harmony for thousands of years in various parts of the world, right? When Roman Empire was taking over the Mediterranean, there were so many other people living all over. It wasn't an empty land, and they were living in peace. We just don't hear about it. Even right now, right, when we look at our politicians, when we look at our governments, we are depressed by what's happening in the world, and we think that there is something within us that's causing this to happen. We internalize it, and that's just not true, because what is happening, it's just in the control of very few people. But the majority of the world is actually kind-hearted people who want to help one another. And you can see that especially when some kind of disaster happens, how people come to each other's help. But the way our structures of our societies are established, that structure in our society is actually built on mistrust, actually. It's built on, no, I cannot trust my neighbor. I have to protect what's mine. And that is a belief that is coming from the top, from that 1%. It's not in people's hearts. Another one, right? And this is more personal. And that bothers me because I lead these yearly cleanses, right? Like classic yogic cleanse or green cleanse. And so I always look out for articles about how to lose weight, what are scientists saying. And what bothers me so much is when people start talking about our metabolism as like a caveman metabolism. that we are built because we have lived in caves and we are these like Neanderthals. We are built to store fat and we don't know how to burn fat and stories like that. And that just upsets me because it's so not true. Or people talk about reptilian brain, like that is somehow the basic of who we are. And again, it is not true because who we truly are, metabolism of a human body is one of the most flexible instruments. Your body is not the same body as the caveman had. Human body is always evolving. When radio waves were introduced, human body had to adjust. Can you imagine that? We don't think about that, but body was adjusting. And till this day, body is still adjusting to the microwaves that we have from our cellular towers. Our bodies are still adjusting to the computers we have. Our bodies are still adjusting to the way what we eat, right? And the kind of foods we eat now. It is still adjusting. It still wants to serve you. It still wants to keep you healthy. That is the body's program, to keep you healthy, to keep you going. Doesn't want to be bogged down. So subconsciously, you can believe that your body is stupid and doesn't know what to do, but that's harmful belief. Let's see these underlying subconscious myths that we tell ourselves, and let's start seeing the world new, that your body is able to rejuvenate, that your body wants to be rejuvenated no matter what your age. Okay, let's also like, oh, people, that's another thing. It's like, oh, I'm 30 years old, I'm old. Your body, no matter what age, wants to feel good, wants to feel healthy, and it has that capability. It is just how you're taking care of it, what you believe. If you start believing that you are a caveman, then you're going to live like a caveman, right? If you believe that your body is a divine spiritual instrument that is always tuning in with the universe, that is always changing, always evolving, and incredibly intelligent and sensitive, then your body will become that. Okay, one more example of the very subversive myth that we exist in, and that's that, oh, like human mind and memories are so limited, and that these computers are able to hold the memories and hold the intelligence way better than us. Okay, so that's and I've been talking about AI a lot, but it's one of the new myths that's coming up, right? And again, it's a myth that tries to sublimate human beings under very smart computers. Okay, so I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm going to argue against that for as long as I live. And that is because, why? As a human being, this is something you have to realize, that your intelligence, your creativity, even your memories are not all just within you. Because how else, if everything was just within you, how could someone actually create something new? How could an author imagine a life of someone else if they never lived that life? How could they imagine lives of thousands of people? How could fantasy exist? How could sci-fi exist if everything was just dependent on what's in your head? How do we create new? How could songs be created? How could poetry be created if we were just limited? The answer is that we constantly tune in to the realm that is beyond us, beyond the head. Constantly, right? We might call it Akashic records. We might call it the divine infinite stream of consciousness. We might call it transcendental plane. There's so many names we can give it, right? And different people have given it different names, and the names doesn't matter. The fact is that we always tune beyond ourselves. And that's why ancient Greeks were so big into muses and believed that you need to have support of something beyond you to be able to create something. Until this day, artists know this and they respect that, because it's very interesting. Like, at one point ideas come easy to you, and then all of a sudden they stop, and you're like, well, what changed? I am the same person. What changed is that divine connection got disconnected. You didn't realize that's what you were doing. What we really call art, or what fulfills us in art, is that the newness of it, that someone digged really far and brought down to us into the material reality something new and fresh and interesting. The AI is like it's always working with already what is. It's not connected to divine intelligence and never will be. It's always only connected what already is being created, and then tries to make it into something new. And that's never going to be fresh. That's never going to be interesting. It's going to get boring very, very soon. AI is fine if you want like a quick help in some way, right? But it's not going to be creative. It's not going to be interesting in any way. The 11th pauri is the last of the sunya pauris, the deep listening ones. So that's why this is actually my second video that I'm doing, because I really wanted to stress this point, and this point is very important, about deep listening. That deep listening is the way to connect with that divine intelligence, with that transcendental field, with that Akashic records, with however we may call it, the creative realm. There is no other way to go around it. And this is exactly what Guru Nanak is telling all of us. He says, deeply listening, recognize the ocean of virtues within you. Deeply listening, become in tune with spirit, perfectly balanced in your own humanity and nobility. Deeply listening, even blind, you will find your way. Deeply listening, understand the unfathomable. Nanak, those who surrender themselves in love to the divine continually blossom and bloom. It's hard to deeply listen, because what you hear at first is just voice of that ego, those negative thoughts. Either these thoughts are telling you something negative about other people, or about the world, or about yourself, and it's just like bam, 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 constantly. And so people find it very hard to be in a meditative state, because all you hear is this ego. So what do? You keep sitting. You keep sitting. It's not that you are trying to ignore the voice of the ego, but you just notice it. It's like, wow, look at all this idea the ego is coming with. And after a while, the voice of the ego will start to sound very boring and very repetitive, just like that AI, because the same way as AI, same way ego is not connected with the divine intelligence. It's just connected to a very narrow realm of ideas that keep on spinning over and over and over. And when you keep on sitting and listening, you'll realize that, oh my gosh, you're so silly. You keep repeating the same thing. You have no new ideas here. There is a very beautiful story of Buddha, right? When he was, just before he started teaching, he was sitting in meditation and he's like, well, I'm going to figure this out one way or the other, right? And so he was sitting in that meditation. He went through all these paths of enlightenment. And Mara was talking to him. Mara is like a devil, right? Or ego tries to pull you out, takes you back. So the Mara keeps talking to him this whole time and he's not responding. And at the last stage, when he already achieved his nirvana, Mara comes back again to him one last time. And he says, well, you have achieved nirvana. That's all great. But what do you think? Like, will someone else go through the same pain and will have that same patience as you have had? Like, this was very hard. Do you realize it? And so this is kind of like the last challenge for Buddha. And he says, I might not convince everyone, but there will be enough people who will be willing to let go of the dust from their eyes. And these are the ones that I'm going to teach. So in that last stage, Buddha conquers Mara. And the same way, when you deeply listen and when you are sitting in meditation, you are conquering your own ego over and over. That at some point, as you sit and not give in, not stand up, not react, not get angry, that at some point the ego will run out of its ideas and it will be conquered. At that time, when you conquer your ego, but it's not like ba 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 ba, you are then able to hear the divine consciousness, the infinite divine creativity. You are then in that transcendental field in which you can start creating, from which you can hear the new brilliant truths that will support your life, that will support your virtuousness, your nobility, and your grace, and will support your creativity and your talents, because that's where they lie. They lie right in that realm. Not here, not in your fingers, not in your genes. This body is just an instrument to help you connect with that realm. And those who understand and respect this process constantly blossom and constantly bring fruit. In that state of deep listening, of meditation, you are going to hear those, not just voice of ego, but those subconscious beliefs, those myths. And they're going to present themselves as sort of a wall that does not let you go further. And you just need to remember that you are divine human being who is always, always connected to the infinite realm. And your possibilities are always infinite. And you can always blossom and bloom. See these beliefs for what they are. They're cultural myths. And in this case, not helpful myths, because lots of myths are very helpful and give you courage and give you this ability to overcome obstacles. But these myths are just designed to keep us down. So, peace, Satnam. Thank you. Here is the 11th pauri. It's very short. You should repeat it 11 times, and that will awaken that virtuousness within you. Suniye saraguna kega, suniye sekbir patsao, suniye ande paverao, suniye har hobeaskao, nanak bhakta saravika, suniye duk papkarnas. Suniye saraguna kega, suniye sekbir patsao, suniye ande paverao, suniye har hobeaskao, नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो वह असगाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश। सुनिए सरा गुनाह के गाओ, सुनिए सिख पीर पतसाओ, सुनिए अंधे भावे राव, सुनिए हार हो बयास गाओ। नानक भक्ता सदा विकास, सुनिए दुख पाप का नाश।